Hey bird lovers! Starlings can be a real nuisance. Big and brash, they quickly eat all the food in the feeders and chase the smaller birds away. I've fought them for years and have learned how to completely eliminate them from my feeders. If you want to get rid of those pesky starlings, watch this video. Let's get into it. To beat starlings, it helps to understand what their preferences are and their limitations. Unlike woodpeckers or cardinals, starlings have relatively weak bills. That means they struggle with seeds that have a tough outer shell. Their favorite foods? Think soft and easy to eat. Mealworms and suet, sunflower hearts, peanut splits, and fruit. If you're using any of those, starlings are going to quickly take notice. But don't worry, if you do want to feed some of these foods, I'll show you how to do it the smart way. Stay tuned for my feeder recommendations that let the right birds in and keep the starlings out. When it comes to outsmarting starlings, your first line of defense is picking the right feeder. Starlings are strong, social, and surprisingly clever, but they're also big and a bit clumsy compared to your typical finch or chickadee. My recommendation to you would be to avoid tray and hopper feeders. These wide open styles are like all-you-can-eat buffets for starlings. If you're using trays, you're practically inviting the whole flock over for dinner. Instead, I recommend tube feeders with short perches. These are harder for starlings to land on and navigate, especially when they can't get a good grip. Even better, caged feeders. I swear by mine. The key is choosing a cage with 1.5 inch openings, big enough for finches, chickadees, titmice, and even bluebirds, but too tight for all the big-bellied starlings to squeeze through. And here's a tip that made a big difference in my yard. Pick a cage that's wide. Some starlings will try to reach their beak in through the bars. The wider the cage, the harder that becomes. I fill my cage feeder with sunflower hearts, and I get a steady crowd of goldfinches, bluebirds, chickadees, and titmice. It's a peaceful little feeding station without the starling drama. Shelled sunflower seeds are great too because they won't leave a mess under the feeder, and since the shells are already removed, they can't sprout up on the ground. And also don't overlook finch feeders. They're great, easy to hang, and naturally deter starlings by their design. I regularly see goldfinches, house finches, and even downy woodpeckers feeding on plain Niger seed or the finest grade of sunflower chips. These feeders combine small perches with tiny feeding ports, so they only appeal to the smaller songbirds you want to attract. Now let's talk about what you're putting in those feeders. In my uncaged tube feeders, I use safflower seed. Starlings will still occasionally eat it, but it's definitely lower on their list of favorites. Combine safflower with a feeder that has short perches and the starlings usually give up. I'll see house finches and cardinals using these feeders regularly, and during migration in the spring and fall, grosbeaks show up for a snack too. And here's a really important tip. Use straight seeds instead of blends. Seed blends usually contain sunflower hearts, millet, or cracked corn, and the starlings will dig through it to find the tastiest bits, tossing the rest right on the ground. Even when you switch to straight safflower, you may notice this behavior at first. Starlings will still pick through, hoping to find something they like, but once they realize there's nothing left for them, they'll usually move on after just a few days. Also, avoid offering peanuts out of the shell. Starlings go crazy for them. Instead, I put out peanuts still in the shell. You'll get visits from blue jays, red-bellied woodpeckers, and titmice, who love to grab them and carry them off. Let's talk about suet. It's the one food I love to offer, but starlings love even more. Suet is a favorite for woodpeckers, but it's also a starling magnet. The trick is to make it less convenient for them. Use the same cage suet feeder with the 1.5 inch openings. It keeps the big guys out, but still lets in your downy woodpeckers. Another trick is the upside down suet feeder. Starlings can cling to them for a moment, but it's really awkward for them. Birds like nuthatches and woodpeckers are built for that kind of thing, and they'll happily feed upside down. Also, avoid suet that has corn in it. Starlings really tend to prefer it. Stick with no corn, high protein blends, put it in a feeder that they can't access, and you'll see their interest drop fast. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a whole starling flock rolls in like it's a Black Friday sale at the feeder. When that happens, I hit the reset button. Take your feeders down for a full 2 weeks. I know it's tough, but it works. The starlings will move on to easier pickings. When I put the feeders back out, the chickadees are usually the first to show, followed by finches, titmice, nuthatches, and the rest of the songbirds you like, usually within a few days. So let's recap the best ways to keep starlings out of your feeder and bring the songbirds you love back in. Avoid tray feeders, they're starling central. Instead, use tube feeders with short perches that are difficult for the starlings to land on. Go for cage feeders with wide spacing to keep the starlings from reaching through. In those cage feeders, use shelled sunflower for goldfinches and chickadees, or peanut splits for bluebirds. In uncaged feeders, try safflower seed, as tends to be least preferable by the starlings. Use straight seeds instead of blends, so starlings don't pick through and waste your food. And also, don't forget about finch feeders. Niger and the finest grade of sunflower chips bring in the finches, but the starlings tend to not bother these feeders too bad. Limit shelled peanuts, stick to in-shell to attract jays and woodpeckers. Use caged or upside-down suet feeders, and avoid corn and suet. And if you're still overwhelmed, take your feeders down. Your songbirds will come back after the starlings have left. Starlings may be persistent, but with the right tools and a little strategy, you can take back control over your feeders. Trust me, I've been there. I've tested all of this in my own backyard, and it sure works well. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more tips for attracting beautiful birds to your backyard. I'd also love to hear your starling stories too. Any solutions I didn't mention here, drop them in the comments below for your fellow bird watchers. Happy birding, and here's to fewer starlings and more of the birds we love.